First, I would personally, and on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Literacy Campaign of Monterey County, thank you all for coming this morning and investing your time, your precious time, in this really important topic. My name is Ron Eastwood, and I'm the Executive Director of the Literacy Campaign, and I'm deeply indebted to all of you for being here. We're also, I'd like to start out by thanking a particular group of sponsors that we have, because without them, this event wouldn't be possible. And there's something of our venture capitalists. This is our first time out with a major event, and they were willing to step forward and put in some financial investment to help us get this off the ground. And those include KSBW Television, First Five Monterey County, the Monterey County Herald, Taylor Farms, Diorigo Brothers of California, the Andy Boy brand, Dole, Lorenzo Smith, our friends at Tanamir and Antle, Pinnacle Bank, Rabobank, AMR, the Monterey County Business Council, the Monterey Peninsula Chamber of Commerce, Portela Hotel and Spa, Pebble Beach Company, Pacific Valley Bank, and of course, our very good friends at the United Way of Monterey County. Could I have a round of applause for them, please? And as I said, I wanted to thank you for being here to invest your time in a really important issue, and that is early childhood literacy and its lasting economic impact. And we're here today to talk about optimizing the development of our human capital, because the economic health of the entire community will develop and improve only if the economic health and potential of all individuals and families has the opportunity to develop and expand. We'll talk about why it's important that our community have all of its children prepared to enter kindergarten at the first year, that they are absolutely prepared for it. And we'll talk about why it's important that every child be reading on grade level by the end of third grade and what that will mean to their academic and success in school and out of school in the years to come. We'll talk about absenteeism and summer learning loss. We'll talk about why these are community responsibilities and concerns and not just the concern of any single sector. We'll talk about why it's important that business and nonprofits, the faith community, government, education, and many other sectors unite and join together to address this concern on a local basis. And that local basis, that localized approach, is why you are asked to identify the community when you registered for this event, and why you're sitting at certain tables, because you're sitting with people from a common community with you. And as we go through our day, the reason for that will be revealed. We have many individuals here who should be recognized as individuals, and unfortunately we don't have the time to do that. But what I'm going to do is call out groups, again, communities, and I'm going to ask you to stand. And if you fit that community, if you would stand, please, and remain standing, and please, no applause until we're all finished. So if you are in the private business sector, would you please stand up? Come on, don't be shy. We love the business sector. If you're in the government sector, would you please stand up? Stay standing, everybody. If you're in the education sector, would you please stand up? Well, I'm heartened to see that. The nonprofit sector, please. Human services. And everyone else who simply has a concern about literacy and about the future of our children, would you please stand up? Now, would you give all of yourselves a round of applause for being here? Because I am deeply indebted that you came out this morning. Right now, I'd like to introduce a gentleman who, more than anyone else, is the backbone of the literacy campaign for Monterey County. He was one of its originators, its founders. He's been with it for many years, long before it became an independent nonprofit organization. And currently he is the president of the board of directors of the literacy campaign for Monterey County. Would you join me in welcoming Mr. Lynn Foster? Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Ron, for the introduction. I have 3 minutes, and I'm going to take advantage of all 3 of them. And I spent about 40 years in public health, and during that course of my career, I came across a story by Irving Zola, which I think appropriately helps us to frame the issues that we're going to be discussing today. There I am standing on the shore of a swiftly moving river when I hear the cry of a drowning man. I jump into the cold water, I fight against the strong current, and force my way to the struggling man. I hold on tightly and gradually pull him to shore. I lay him on the bank and begin to revive him using CPR. Just when he begins to breathe, I hear another cry. I jump into the cold water, I fight against the strong current, swim forcefully to the struggling woman. I grab hold and gradually pull her to shore. I lift her out onto the bank beside the man and begin CPR. Just as she begins to breathe, I hear another cry for help. I jump into the cold water, fighting again the strong current. I force my way to the struggling man. I'm getting tired, so with great effort, I eventually pull him to shore. I lay him on the bank and begin CPR. Just as he begins to breathe, I hear another cry for help. Near exhaustion, it occurs to me that I'm so busy jumping in, pulling him to shore, and performing CPR that I have no time to go upstream and find out who's throwing them in. So it seems our society spends a tremendous amount of time and resources on remedial action without much success. Perhaps we should consider building bridges, erecting perimeter fences, or maybe even providing swimming lessons. The second part of my comment is an introduction for our first speaker, CSUMB President Dr. Eduardo Ochoa. I know that Dr. Ochoa will forgive me for the extremely abbreviated summary of his professional and academic accomplishments. Dr. Ochoa was born in Argentina, but moved to the United States with his family while he was still in high school. He has earned degrees in physics, nuclear medicine, and economics. He's worked as a professional engineer, taught at Fresno State and Cal State LA. At Cal State LA, he was a full professor and chair of the Economics and Statistics Department, and served as acting dean of the School of Business and Economics. He later served as dean of Cal Poly Pomona's College of Business Administration for 6 years. Dr. Ochoa also served as provost and vice president of academic affairs for Sonoma State University. In February 2010, Dr. Ochoa was named Assistant Secretary for Post-Secondary Education by President Obama. In 2012, he was appointed interim president at CSUMB and was selected as their permanent president on May 22nd of this year. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ochoa.
Well, thank you. You know, I've been in this community now 15 months, and I think it's time that we skip all that biography and future introductions everybody's heard several times probably. Welcome to CSUMB. We're very glad to have you here at our campus. This campaign is a very important effort. I'm really impressed with the number of people that are attending today and the extent to which it's developed and organized. And it fits in with other efforts that are going on in the county, such as the Monterey County's Children's Council's Early Childhood Development Initiative, and work that other organizations do, like Boys and Girls Club of Monterey County and others. And so one of the things that I think we can contribute to the mix, add to the mix, to help enhance the work that Literacy Campaign is doing, is developing something that is called a cradle-to-career partnership. And I've been talking about this with community leaders, including Ron, and there seems to be support for it, so we're in the process of putting it together. And so I was going to take some time today to tell you a little bit about it and acquaint you with it. This is something that, an approach that was originated in Cincinnati. Nancy Zimpher, who was the president of the University of Cincinnati, helped spearhead the effort and basically brought together all of the various elements of the community, stakeholders that impacted the success of students in school in one way or another, brought them together and applied 4 principles for organization. They developed a shared community vision, first of all, and identified the big goal, the big objective that they all have in common, which is to have children go through the educational pipeline and succeed and move on to productive lives and careers. And then they went about gathering information, comprehensive database that would give them a complete picture of how the community was doing in terms of student success, and also an inventory of what everybody, all the various community organizations and agencies and educational institutions were doing, what was their entry point insertion into that process, and what efforts they were carrying out. And then they worked together on establishing a few key goals. They agreed on indicators that they were going to focus on and improve. And then finally, they developed a governing structure and a staff, a backbone staff that was dedicated full-time to moving the agenda forward. And this kind of effort did have results. They were able to increase some key indicators of kindergarten readiness, and high school graduation, and college enrollment. These were some of the highlight indicators that they focused on. By developing a roadmap and plotting the whole pipeline, the whole journey of the student's success, it helped highlight what key transition points exist in that process, where students are most at risk of leaking out of the pipeline, if you will, or dropping out, and focused on working on those. So here's a quote from the Stanford Social Innovation Review, which is a journal that studied this kind of effort and provided some of the theoretical underpinnings and the conceptual framework. And this really could be seen as a great example of something that is now becoming sort of the state of the art in terms of philanthropic work and community work, and that is the notion of collective impact strategies, of coordinating your efforts to maximize the impact that each organization is having separately. The Strive Network now has over 100 members throughout the United States. Personally, I was made aware of it when I was Assistant Secretary, and the President of Portland State University came to Washington to brag about the work they've been doing in the Portland area, where they have in fact started one of these cradle-to-career partnerships and have had some success. They were able to identify 12 community-wide indicators spanning the pipeline from birth through age 25. And these are some of the types of indicators that they used for their efforts there. Each community reaches agreement on which indicators they're going to focus on. These are the ones that Portland happened to pick. And this is an example of some of the results that they have achieved in third grade reading trends. So in terms of well, this is what they did in ninth grade here, and yeah, some of the results. So here in Monterey County, what we've done so far is we brought Chancellor Zimfer, who moved on from the University of Cincinnati to become the head of the State University of New York system. She gave a presentation to a number of community leaders here in Monterey County. And we have been working with United Way, with the county, with Nancy Kotowski in the Office of Education of the county. And we have also managed to enlist Bruce Taylor, who's willing to be a co-sponsor for this organization. And we're in the process of putting together a leadership council for the effort, which would be a large group, probably around 50 or so individuals, representing all of the different organizations that are involved in this. And certainly this effort is part of it. And this is what I want to emphasize, that this kind of partnership is really meant to be additive and not competing with anything that's going on. It's a way of bringing everybody together, share information about what we're doing, so that each one of us in our different organizations and efforts are operating from a common knowledge base and understand how best to align our resources and our efforts within our own independent organizations. So that's a great benefit from it, is we're all able to act in our own venues with full intelligence about what's going on overall. And then also another consequence of this would be that if there are gaps in the big picture in terms of what we're doing, that will emerge too from that analysis, and it can help frame then efforts that we can undertake jointly to seek funding for maybe new initiatives that would help meet that gap. So it's a way also of making the efforts, the ongoing efforts, never-ending efforts of nonprofits and other organizations looking for funding from either government or foundations, to really provide a strategic framework from which to motivate proposals, as opposed to responding to a funding source that happens to become available. It's rather, first we identify what we need to do, then we go and look for what might be an appropriate source. So, and we're also currently, the university will contribute to this effort a full-time director to coordinate or support the work of the council, and also an assistant. So that staffing, we're currently searching for that director position, and hope to fill it shortly. We also anticipate that the university will be partner, in terms of the effort of the partnership itself. In addition to the overall stewardship by the Leadership Council, we anticipate that there will be task forces that are focusing on the major segments of the pipeline. And certainly the CSUMB will partner with our sister post-secondary institutions, Hartnell, MPC, others, to see how we can optimize the transition from high school to college, articulation issues, all those sorts of things. We'll be able to work more closely with high schools. We also are interested in seeing what, since the CSU system as a whole, and certainly CSUMB, are responsible for preparing over half of the teachers in our K-12 system. We're also interested in seeing to what extent we can make connections with earlier stages of the K-12 system and help and engage our faculty and students in that work as well, and help wherever we can. So there's lots of exciting prospects for us. From the perspective of the university, we see it as a great way to get more deeply and closely engaged with the community that we serve. And I think that so far, people seem to be supportive of the idea, so we're very excited about working with this. And the literacy campaign and the early childhood development initiative are relatively mature efforts that are already well underway, and we're only looking to see to what extent we can help and enhance the great work they're already doing. Thank you. I think this is probably not appropriate at this point, given the way that the program is going. So, thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Ochoa.